Gonna try one of these. Oh, right. Glad to see everyone here. Haven't meltdown yet. Right. Today, I'm Mimo, by the way, and today we will talk about how AI is eating home pages and disrupting consumer journey and content distribution. But before we start, oh, there we go. Right. So before we start, just want to start with a little story. Like many households out there, I'm sure, at home, I am the one who does most of the cooking and the meal planning. My amazing partner, she does tons of other stuff, and she's brilliant. But like cooking is not one of her things, and I love cooking, so I take care of it. About a month ago, though, I got back home very late. It was, I had absolutely no idea on what to eat that night. So I started scrambling around, opened the fridge several times, checked the pantry, literally like went online, started looking for recipes, watched a couple of YouTube videos. And then like, you know, by the time we agreed and settled on something, it was 10 p.m. She was hungry and hungry, which is a really bad combo. So we had a massive argument. And I got almost kicked out for something that I've done, but probably haven't done in the right time frame. Fair. But because that wasn't the first time that has happened, I basically decided like I was going to solve this one and forever. So the day after, I woke up and I set my as an objective for the day to just like resolve the issue. I turned to my AI friends. And I basically vibe-coded a basic UI using Verso, which is a vibe coding platform. The Hungry Girlfriend app was born 5-6 hours later. It's essentially an AI-powered tool that allows for essentially personalized recipes for the specific day. How did I do that? I scraped 800 recipes from lacucinaitaliana.com, which is one of my favorite Condé Nast websites. Brilliant recipes. And plugged them on top into the machine. I then went and essentially uploaded all my girlfriend dietary requirements. She's on a high proteins, low carbs diet. And plugged an open AI API on top, and boom, the Hungry Girlfriend app was born. So it's brilliant. It was originally designed for her, but I am the one mostly using it these days, and I love it. It has eliminated decision fatigue and has really introduced a better user flow, a user journey for me at least. Also it runs no ads, and I shouldn't say that, but I quite like the fact that I don't have to sit through those 15 seconds pre-roll. So, while I was using the app more and more, I realized that actually my user journey has changed forever. And it's essentially I started realizing that as soon as I had a need, I went straight, or the journey reduced from essentially going online, scrambling on the different website, went just literally open the app and get exactly what I needed, which was the recipe inspiration. And I jumped straight to the fun part, which is the cooking part. Now, this led me think to, different sort of conversation and different thoughts. But one of these is essentially that AI is changing the way content is being distributed. While everyone is focusing on the idea that actually AI is changing and disrupting the content creation, which is fair, because obviously there is amazing stuff that the tool is doing there. But I think there is a better or even more revolutionary or overlooked sort of revolution happening at essentially the content distribution stage. And then another thoughts appear to me. Web 2.0 did a great job at disintermediating industries. Thinking about retails, travel, media, information, of course. These are all being like essentially disintermediated, and the level of disintermediation happening there has been thanks to the Web 2.0, and to some extent Google and all of that. AI is to some extent re-intermediating everything. It's putting itself as a layer between the users and everything else, summarizing, repackaging content, and essentially like shortening up user journey in a way that hasn't like seen before. We are seeing the verge of an era of like hyper-personalized UI interfaces. Essentially, this chart, by the way, is from a year ago, but the sort of like exponential growth that you're seeing here, and GitHub, by the way, just I should specify that GitHub is a repository platform for software developers, and is one where software just share and store code. We are seeing like an exponential growth since like the AI tools are essentially like helping users to develop code, roll out code. So there is definitely like this sense of the distribution or like the distribution of content being disintermediated, not only because of like the new chatbots and all of that, but also because of software. And software being realized by non-technical users, or users that essentially were generalist users like me. We are seeing a bunch of like hyper-personalized UI like or app like My Hungry Girlfriend. That is essentially an app created with specific needs in place, customized around the users, and really like tailored to what my needs are or my household needs are. And it's obviously not only software. We are seeing a lot of like growth within the chatbots. So that chart is like self-explanatory, but ChatGPT, who everyone is familiar with, has managed to get to essentially like in 2 years what Google achieved in 11 years in terms of like number of search. It's incredible. Like I would say, arguably the most important, or the most important, or the product, consumer product with the highest adoption curve in history. Is running 1 billion queries per day. We've got like 600 million. They got like 600 million users active on the platform every month. And I said, it's not only ChatGPT. We've got like Perplexity, Gemini, and obviously like a bunch of others out there. So, dead internet theory. This is a conspiracy theory from a while ago, and it's essentially stating that all the internet is made of bot, essentially, and is made for crawlers. So we're talking about that internet theory. It's becoming a bit of a reality these days. So when I read about it a few years ago, I realized that, oh yeah, that's it's pure conspiracy theory. But this chart is from Toolbit. Toolbit is a tool that, or a software company that helps publishers and brands to essentially like analyze their web pages and traffic from AI, especially AI companies. They've over the last year, in less than a year, the amount of like scraping happening on content, or scraping or content happening on the pages, have doubled. This is a clear indication of what is happening out there, and it's essentially like content is being scraped as never before. Like just to give you an idea, Google had 10 years ago had crawled 2 pages and sent 1 person to a site, so 1 human. The ratio was 2 to 1. Today, that ratio is 18 to 1. And Anthropic is 60,000 to 1. So essentially, what we are seeing here is a machine web, or semantic web, which is essentially a web created for machines and bots and crawlers. Oh yes, it's basically Anthropic. Anthropic is scrolling 60,000 pages and sending one users back, one human users. So there is more bot activity happening rather than human activity on the at least from what we are seeing at the moment. So I would just wrap up and talking about how the skyrocketing of content scraping happening. I had another slide before, but essentially there is a flurry of activities happening on the publishing side. I work at Condé Nast. We struck a deal with OpenAI, but there's been a bunch of other deals happening. We are counting around 70 deals, 7-0, across the last couple of years. Many publishers out there are actually trying to capitalize on what is essentially a new potential revenue stream. And on the other side, we've got these LLM companies and AI firms that are essentially in need of this data to train their content and to train their foundational models. So there is a lot of activities happening there. There's lots of risk involved, lots of opportunities. But definitely one thing that I would say, and there's some certainty here, that there's going to be, content distribution is being disrupted for sure. The user journey is changing. But it's also going to be less ads, because ultimately robots don't click on ads. Or we're probably going to have a different type of ads. So with that in mind, I just want to bring it home here and just thinking about how AI is eating the user journey, how to actually make sure that it's still serving your brand. And I think we need to think about new framework here, because the one that we've used so far are probably not longer, still applicable, but they're probably no longer the only ones that we should be looking at. Enter the dual influence reality. So on one side, it's displayed as a pyramid, but it's actually a funnel. We have the typical funnel. So this is the framework that everyone is well aware of, very familiar with in our world. So we got onus, consideration, conversion. Some people have loyalty down there. On the other side, we have something else, the machine flow. It can be a funnel, because obviously the machine doesn't act in the same way. So it's essentially made of prompts, outputs, and conversion. And it's made of structured data, made of clear specification. And marketers these days needs to start thinking about how to market to both the human and the machine, because this machine flow is going to act for influencing essentially the AI agent and the layer that are going to be making decision on behalf of your consumers or your users. So, finally, I want to leave the room with some practical action points. What should we do as marketers in this world? So the landscape is definitely changing, but start with an audit. Check your properties online. Make sure that there are clear structured data, and something that we can do, generally use Markdown, for example, which is a language that the AI crawler likes a lot. Make sure that you use robots text file, which is essentially a very good tool for signaling out there that you're open for business. You're telling to this crawler, to this AI company, hey, I'm here, crawl my websites, crawl my product page, and just make sure that your brand is indexed and is in their knowledge repository. Because AI discoverability and zero-click search is there. So you want to make sure that your brand stays discoverable. Build literacy. That doesn't mean necessarily going out and buy fancy courses or expensive academic certification, but make sure you foster an environment where essentially your team is allowed for playing around with the tool, but also encouraged to play with this tool. And little by little, test dual influences strategies. So there is a bunch of stuff happening out there. AEO, which is apparently the new SEO. the conversational ads, conversation around, how can you sponsor the product. The Perplexity is doing brilliant things. They're coming out with a commercial offering by the end of the year. You might be partnering up with them, for example. And just be scrappy. Just literally test out what could work, what can work for your brand. Own your customer relationship. I think that's super important. You're gonna have to essentially nurture those relationships. That will set you up for the future. Invest in brand building. I will never stop saying that. Brand equity is super important, especially in an AI era where AI is going to commoditize and standardize the consumer choice even further. So it's even more important that your brand stands out, so to make sure that your brand doesn't get eaten by an AI app like Hungry Girlfriend. So I just want to thank everyone today for staying up and through the whole technical glitches. And I hope you do enjoy something that the AI doesn't enjoy, which is staying outside with a nice beer in your hand and having good times. Thank you very much.